Chapter 13, The Art of Concentering. In ordinary conversation, we make frequent use of the word concentration in the sense of bringing together or diminishing in bulk and increasing in strength, or consolidating, etc. In order to avoid an erroneous conception, I have preferred to use the term concentering. A plain definition of the word concentering is bringing to a common center or focusing. Carry in your mind the analysis of the word, thus concenter, to bring to a center. The word concenter has its exoteric or common meaning and its esoteric or hidden meaning when used in connection with the exercise of the powers of the mind. The exoteric idea is the concentering of the mind upon the one particular thought or action, inhibiting all outside thoughts or impressions. The esoteric idea is the concentering of the mind upon the ego, the I am, inhibiting all outside thoughts or impressions. The esoteric idea is the concentering of the mind upon the ego, the I am, inhibiting all thoughts of the material body or of the grosser self, and dwelling the higher regions of the soul. The first mentioned form of concentering is the most valuable acquirement for man in his everyday life. The second form is the most desirable acquirement for those who would know more of their real self, and who aspire to know something of the secrets of the silence. In this lesson, I will speak exclusively of the practical side of concentering, that being the purpose of this work. I have, however, given the reader hints of the esoteric phase, that he may know how to proceed if he is attracted to the same. The art of concentering upon a given thought or action is one of the most desirable acquirements which a man can possess. We have been told the advantage of doing a thing with all our might, and doing one at a time and doing it well, etc. We all know of a painter who attributed his excellent work to the fact that he mixed brains in his painting, and the miner who put a little brain into his pick. We know that the simplest task is better performed if we but combine concentrated thought with the action. Workmen differ in degree according to the amount of concentered thought placed in their work. The man who takes an interest in his work and who finds an intellectual pleasure in his daily task is a man who does the best work, and is also the happier man. The man who keeps his eye on the clock, or who leaves his pick in the air at the sound of the whistle, is a mere machine, and will never amount to anything unless he changes his point of view regarding work. The man who thinks with his hands, or who can carry a message to Garcia, is in demand. He is a scarce article, and many employers are looking for him. When will our boys learn to appreciate this fact? Well, what has all this to do with concentering? Just this, that the interest and brains that a man puts into his work is the result of an exercise of volitional concentering. The man who practices concentering in his daily life shuts out distracting impressions and gives his best thought force to the task before him, and does better work by reason thereof, whether he be a day laborer, architect, clerk, salesman, poet, painter, or banker. Every man who has arrived has developed the art of concentering. He may not realize it, but he has just the same. And more, any man who will develop the art of concentering will arrive. Try it and be convinced. While you can see it for yourself, it cannot help produce results. If you can center on an object and hold the thought firmly, you cannot help doing the best work. And if you do the best work, you will receive the proper reward, providing you have the sense with which you were born, and have not allowed yourself to be hypnotized into a belief that you are a worm of the dust or a human doormat. If you do the best work, you will find a market for your service. If your present employer doesn't appreciate you, there are plenty of others who will. But you will have to do the work, don't forget that. No man is going to be fool enough to pay you for something that you do not do. Oh no, he is not built that way, and he would not arrive if he did. But just the same, he will not permit you to leave his employ for that of his rival. If you do the best work, and you will do the best work if you only get down to business and concenter. If you have been discouraged by your apparent lack of success in your vocation, Just you learn how to concenter and do it. Spit on your hands and take a fresh grip, a little high up, and pull for all you're worth. You just pull hard enough, and something will be give on the other end of the rope. Don't you waste your time complaining of the oppression of capital and all that sort of thing. If you are a concentering man, capital will soon fall all over itself to secure your service or to buy your goods. Can't you see it, man? Of course you can. Well then, stop fooling around about it and get to work in earnest. Get a move on and hustle. If you refuse to accept the means of financial salvation now offered you, why just lie around and be a human doormat all your life? Who cares? If a man is too lazy to be saved, why just let him be the other thing? It serves him right. Some of you fellows need a man around you with a spiked club, with instructions to give you a good bang every time you slack up and engage in mental wool gathering. Stop your moaning and get down to business. Some people spend their life in dreaming of the hereafter, where they expect to spend their time loafing around the throne. Now they're sure to be fooled about that. All nature is in motion, and God is working hard every day. And I believe that when you get to the other shore, you will be confronted with a sign having thereon inscribed the words, "No loafing permitted." If you take an interest in your work, you rob it of its terrors. Start in, man, and work. Out your salvation from poverty and unhappiness. Do it, and do it now. The man who can concenter has at his hand a sure remedy for the blues. How? Why, just by shutting off the unpleasant thought and concentrating on the brighter subject. Now don't say that you can't do this. You can do it if you acquire the knack. Thousands of people have found this plan as specific for the blues, discouragement, worry, fear, and the rest. Try it and you will find that life will appear entirely different to you. Try it and you will feel so good that you would not call the president your cousin. Try it and you will feel the thrill of life along your keel, and will thank God that you are alive instead of curing the day when you were born. You will do your work better. You will feel better. You will be better. Is it not worth the trial? You may have an idea that you know something about concentering. Well, maybe you do. Let's see. Take up a lead pencil and try to sharpen it properly. Take your time at it, and turn out a first-class job. Now see if you can concenter on that pencil sharpening, to the exclusion of all outside thoughts. Try to devote your best energy and thought to the task at hand. For the moment, live for the sole purpose of getting an A1 point on that pencil. Well, how did it feel? Pretty hard job, wasn't it? Yes, I thought so. You need practice, young man. Take up the exercise given in this lesson and go over them until you can do anything whatsoever without your thoughts wandering. Anyone can concenter upon an agreeable task, but just give them an unpleasant or monotonous job, and you will find that your thought will wander away in spite of them. That is, until they learn to concenter by an effort of the will. That is the test, the ability to concenter upon an unpleasant, unattractive, monotonous task. When you have overcome these troubles, you will know that you have broken the backbone of waste effort, of lost motion. By concentering, you are able to focus your attention, thought, and energy upon that given thing, thereby obtaining the best possible results. The rays of the sun, when focused upon an object by means of a sunglass, produce a heat many times greater than that direct relay of the same source of light and heat. So it is with attention. Scatter it, and you get but ordinary results. But focus upon the thing to be done, and you obtain a wonderful amount of energy. The concentering man focuses his attention and thought force upon an object, and the result is that his very action, voluntary and involuntary, is in the direction of the attainment of that object. As I said in a previous lesson, a man can have everything he wants if he only wants it hard enough. If his energies are focused upon a thing, to the exclusion of everything else, the force so generated and focused must bring the result. The moral of all of this is, whatsoever you do, do it with all your might. Do it in earnest, do one thing at a time, and do it well. In order to obtain the best results from the thought courses, as explained in the preceding lesson, you should acquire the art of concentering. By focusing the thought, you add to its strength, as a moment's reflection will show you. The exercises accompanying the preceding lessons should be accompanied by the exercises in concentering. These exercises are more or less tedious and monotonous, but should be persisted until perfected. You will be repaid for your work by the conscious increase in your powers of concentering, which will be apparent from the very first. There is one thing more that I wish to say you before starting in with the exercises, and that is to point out to you the advantage of concentering as a means of mental and physical rest. If this were the only result obtainable by the exercises, it would be worth your while to acquire it. Suppose you feel completely tired out by some physical or mental labor, and are sadly in need of rest. If you lie down, the thought, which has been occupying your mind, returns to haunt you and prevents your mind from obtaining the much-needed rest. Now the theory is that each thought calls into operation and activates certain sets of brain cells, the other cells, of course, taking a rest in the meantime. This being the case, you will see readily that when one set of brain cells become utterly fagged out by excessive exercise and work, its only chance of getting an entire rest is for you to concentre upon an entirely different line of thought, shutting out the cells which you have just tired out, and which are still vibrating with excitement from the strong impetus given them. By concentring upon the new thought, the old cells are relieved from further work and obtain a much-needed rest. These cells are hungry for work, and may attempt to return to their task in spite of you. But if you have acquired proficiency in the art of concentering, you have learned to master them. You doubtless remember the time when your brain felt exhausted by the hard work of the business day. But when you pick up from your interested novel, you become so interested in it that your own brain cells knocked off for a while. And when the novel was completed, you felt completely refreshed, notwithstanding the fact that the reading of the book was in itself no slight exercise of the mind. That is the theory. Now put it into practice, and you will have no need to complain of mental overwork. You will be able to put thoughts off and on, like your coat, changing them whenever you see fit. I will now give you a few exercises, the practice of which will enable you to develop the power of concentering. In leaving this phase of the subject, I again would remind you that the underlying principle of concentering is the focusing of the attention upon a certain thought or action. Any exercise which will strengthen the faculty of volitional inhibition of non-essential thought will be of value, the exercises herein given being merely furnished as suggestions of others. End of chapter.